Continuing from the previous video, I started the weave and ran into a few problems. I went through 4 or 5 strategies and got a little frustrated with it, and finally came up with a process that would work. So shows at the center, and it's slightly off, but we don't have a measurement. And if I go ahead and bring those over corner to corner, we're going to see a little bit of shift in the pattern, but I think that's maybe a little easier. Possibly that one and that one line up. I don't know that I want to rely on that solely as my my measurement, but we can take a look at the results. So the process, we'll open up our sketch. And let's go ahead and put in the rectangle first. That'll get us our shape. And then we need, I think we're still staying with the 9, so let me give that a count real quick. So if we're off a little bit, that actually ended up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So one of the problems that arose and this was set to 45 degrees, so whichever way we start should be okay. Oh, and there was my test pieces we'll take a look at here in a minute. Alright, so one of those is going to tie in. Possibly there, or if we just go slightly off one way or the other, we'll figure out that position. Alright, so in the linear sketch pattern, if everything's horizontal, then I've had pretty good luck of setting these axes and going in both directions. But for whatever reason, in this group, so let's go 5 and set it at 45 degrees. And then if we were to set to 5 and also to 45 degrees, and possibly reverse it, then accept. Oh, would have helped if I'd picked the the object. So 45, and then make sure to pick the entities to pattern, and we'll reverse that one. And then in the process, that one went 270, so I think we were at 225 was the desired. There we go. Alright, so this had a tendency to produce an error, and it may have been because I had locked it into place. Alright, and our dimension goes to 12.5. And let's see if we bring that over. Okay, so when it tries to go fully defined into the to the corner, that coincident creates a little bit of an issue. So what I'd like to take a look at then is the second one. Use that point as the reference and make it coincident. Then I'm still getting that error when I try to get it to go fully defined. So the resolution there was to undo a couple times, get the moves, dimension, we're back to. So this actually worked out a little bit better. And fix x-axis direction, 45 degrees, 5 pieces. I go ahead and accept it, select it again, and this time we're going to do 45 degrees and 5 while reversing, and that puts us into place. So when this comes over, well, that's the instance count, and goes to fully defined, it doesn't have the same type of issue. So we'll put our dimension in, 12.5, and then 12.5. Okay, so that sets up our first group. We could also try this as a mirror. So if I were to go from corner to corner, and we just pick one of these to be the side, and we'll go 135, 5 pieces, or 5 instances. Challenge here is that if I switch this from object geometry to construction geometry and then pick my other lines, then I should be able to go into mirror, tell it to mirror about, and pick up all of those, and then revert this back to being an object. That'll get me fully defined. Alright, so I didn't quite line up where I expected to. I'm going to go ahead and hide that sketch, and we'll just deal with it as the corners. So the next issue is that when we start trimming these out, when we get to these lines that have the dimensions and the relations start to fall apart. So the best technique that I could come up with was to switch this to use the grid pattern, open up a new sketch, and then take sketch 13 and convert all of that geometry into this sketch. And then what that does, what it has the effect is we can go into power trim, and because these are related to the other items, we'll see if we can get these to go fully defined. Okay, so not really. So let's see what relations we might have lost or it's finding on the midpoints or intersections. Okay, so dragging that one back and making it coincident. And then looks like I got part of, which I could see adding those geometries back in. So coincident, coincident. Well, zoom in a little bit more, see if I can get that endpoint. Oh, so I'm still in the power trim, that's why those are disappearing. So just need to pay attention to what I'm telling it to do. Okay, so back to the coincident. And collinear. So do watch the trim, because it's what's going to adjust that geometry. So I'm just going to put a patch in on this one. Go coincident. And let's see if we go trim and trim to closest. So it's interesting that some of these will go under defined and some of them will stay. Alright, so to move on with the pattern, we're going to have a group of 3. And then if I move straight down 2, we'll have another group of 3. So Let's go ahead and start some of the pattern. And when that gets a little too confusing, we'll go ahead and turn the base grid off. So 1, 2. And 1, 2, 3. All right, and then the overlap should be on the side. And then that one goes, and then we skip, and we'll go 1, 2, 3. And then we skip, and we'll have 1, 2, 3. And then going the other way, in between, and that one would be in between. And let's see, between those two, and then up and over. And now it's flip-flopping on me. Okay, so I have that group, and that group, and that group. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it looks like if I follow the pattern, 1, 2, 1, 2, I close those off. That should actually be going that way. And then we'll trim that one out. Okay, so overlap, under, over, and under. So let's see, this strip should be an under. And then if we were to go down 2 and over, and then that one will come back that way, we'll have the squares. And actually, let's see, if that one were to go down, I think we need that one back. Three, and then 1, 2, 3, over, under, over. So let's go ahead and close it and see if I'm anywhere near close. So I've still got an error in here. So this presents a pretty good challenge from just something that looks like a basic sketch. So over, under, under, over. And then that one would go, I think that one would go the other way. Okay, so let's run around the outside. We'll delete a relation. I'll try to clean these up. I know this isn't perfect. but I think I've spent enough time on it already, and this would be one of those devious tests of strategy to get this this geometry. So on the other side is if we were making these solids, or we knew what we were going to end up with on this this geometry, then we could do a little bit more detail. All right, so let's try and get this fully defined. So we'll try a collinear and a collinear. Okay, so those are looking pretty good. We're going to have to add some of these relations back in to get this to cooperate. And one more, and collinear. Alright, so I have one dot. We'll bring it back, and we're at fully defined. So, I can hide those, and I'm going to have to stare at this and see where I made my mistakes. Possibly that one, and one over here. But, it gets most of the geometry, and that will be close enough for now. Okay, so I'm a little bit closer, and want to use one of the other tools. So let's go to an area fill or a hatch, and we can do the standard patterns, or we can just make it a solid. And if I pick the color, maybe a gray. So let's highlight and see if the pattern's being maintained. So that looks like that one should have been, and then one down here, that should be okay. That one should be okay. And then this would be over here. Alright, so I still have one picking up on the settings, so that was up and over, that one was over and under, so that should have been 3, and then there would be a gap here, and would reverse it and go that way. And still solid. Pick the color again. And pick that one, and that one, and that one. Nope, that one's still a shift, so let's pick that one, and not allowing me to deselect that one, so we'll pick it and hit delete. And I think that looks about as good as I'm going to get it, because it's still flip-flopping on me. But the hatch then will stay with the shadows and give us a little more detail. So maybe we can do a little better with the hexagons.